every day na hindi na natin halos napapansin, tinitiis natin. But we're going to find out more about the issues of our fellow Filipinos in the different islands that are really being impacted in the tourism sector. And we thank you so much for being here this morning so that we can continue to really raise this issue to our government and to those who continue to be able to help us. Maraming salamat po.
Ng FGD, para mapabuti ang mga inisyatiba ng enerhiya sa Pilipinas na makakatulong hindi lamang sa turismo at negosyo ng bansa, kundi pati na rin sa lahat ng consumer. Ang aming pong Tourism FGD output ay bunga sa pagtutulungan at pakikinig. At sa dakong ito ng ating programa, nais din namin bigyan ng acknowledgement ang ating DOT Secretary, si Ms. Cristina Garcia Frasco. Maraming salamat po sa pagdalo sa aming FGD launch. Energy situation within the Philippines. So part of that is, one of the data that we've gathered is that about 74.29% of respondents, so these are the people that we were able to talk with, the people we were able to converse with and gather for our FGD outputs, lose about 10,000 to 30,000 pesos per day. So this is just an average amount that we were able to gather. For some localities, they were losing from 5,000 to 100,000 per day, depending on the location or the area. So large businesses, as I've shared here, are losing around 100,000 in a single day of operation. And without electricity, some businesses are forced to stop operations entirely, mainly because their operations are dependent on electricity or power generation. So this requires our businesses within the Philippines, especially in tourism-heavy areas, to implement cost-cutting measures. So what does this mean? Cost-cutting measures looks like reducing our staff, laying off people, cutting down inventory, and or limiting operational hours. Of power outages, blackouts, and brownouts on our tourism sector, and how does it manifest in terms of impact? So we have here actually a quote, and to really highlight how tourism is important to the Philippines, as we already know as Filipinos, but cementing it further, it's the largest generator of well-being and employment in the world. And it employs a lot of Filipinos across the 4 key areas that we were able to do our study output. So what we were able to underscore here is that with the rise of tourism, especially in islands like Siargao, in core tourism areas like Cebu, is that there is a demand for energy, mainly because energy is necessary in providing services and enhancing the visitor experience. So one of that including is accommodations, their food, which is very dependent on how strong their electricity supply is. 760 billion pesos in terms of revenue from tourist expenditures. So whenever they spend in their tourist areas, whenever they try to purchase something, it also counts towards our tourism expenditure. And about 16.4 million Filipinos are employed because of this industry. And this looks like about 5.9 million people visiting our islands, visiting the places that we outlined earlier, such as the island garden city of Samal, Puerto Galera in Oriental Mindoro, Cebu, and Siargao in Surigao del Norte. And actually, the Philippines has one of the largest domestic tourism market within the ASEAN region and Timor-Leste. So that's how crucial tourism is for us Filipinos and also for the market that we have. Southern Luzon, Visayas, and then Mindanao. And we were able to pull in about 43 participants across various sectors of the tourism industry. We have retail, government, food and beverage, hotel, and accommodations. And this ranges in size. So from the first FGD output, we already discussed what are the parameters and size of like micro enterprises, small businesses, medium-sized, and large companies. And we also applied it here as we looked into the 43 participants and how they represent the different industries that they have. So our objectives for this FGD output are already shared earlier, but reiterating it back is that we want to have a concrete data or concrete set of statistics with which to inform our local governments, our national government, and other key stakeholders and decision makers on how the energy or power situation in the Philippines directly affects our tourism industry and thereby affects the average Filipino. Be sharing that there are specific scans that we were able to see on a specific period. So there were more areas that had more complaints, or we would say more visibility on social media because of the power situation compared to others. So baka po maging tanong, bakit hindi kasama ang Baguio, bakit hindi kasama ang Bohol, etc. So it's not po that we chose based on preference, but mainly because of the data that we've seen on social media and our community as well with what they've been reporting to our page. So we would also like to reiterate before we proceed that most of the data here, these are self-reported data. So these are from our participants, kung ano po yung sinishare nila during the discussions, and we also do cross-check it after.
Sinabi din niya na the city had been losing up to 15 million annually in the tourism sector alone due to power issues. So sa kuryente pa lang, 15 million na ang nawawala sa kanila taon-taon. 50 million. And this becomes an even more pressing issue with the anticipated demand for electricity from the upcoming Davao-Samal Bridge project. So yung Davao-Samal Bridge project, it's still being constructed. It's actually been ongoing for the last couple of years, and people are excited kasi nga it's going to cut the transportation to Samal from Davao from 30 minutes to mga 5 minutes na lang. But of course, what this also means is that with more people coming into Samal, mas lalong tataas ang kanilang demand for electricity, which currently is already so insufficient. The Northern Davao Electric Cooperative, or Nordeco, has been criticized for its poor service. Currently, there's actually a petition to actually have them replaced already. So business owners report slow response times. Whenever they complain about their blackouts, they either get no response or very slow response to it. There's a lack of accountability na kapag dinadaing nila yung kanilang mga blackouts or mga brownouts, parang nagkikibit-balikat na lang ang EC, and they're also saying na, well, there's really very little we can do currently. And there's no compensation for losses caused by power outages. So yung nawawalang pera ng ating mga kapwa Pilipino sa tourism industry or even the residents, pag nasira ang kanilang appliances, sorry na lang.
From Tatay Segundino. So, he's a stall vendor. Actually po, may question mark kasi yung anak niya po talaga yung stall vendor. And he's helping out, so parang dumayo po siya sa Surigao del Norte. And then, he helps out his daughter sa pagtinda ng mga pagkain dito sa tinatawag nilang AFAM Bridge. So, hindi po yan totoong pangalan ng bridge. Kumbaga, tinawag lang pong AFAM Bridge kasi marami po talagang foreign visitors na nakatambay sa bridge. And sabi niya dito, dapat nilang maasikaso talaga ito upang hindi magtuloy-tuloy ang problema kasi sila ang may kapangyarihan. So yung pinaka-experience po ni Tatay Segundino ay may times na napuputulan sila ng kuryente, siya at ng anak niya kasi hindi sila nakakapagbayad on time. And this comes pa po before yung power crisis sa Siargao. And now na nagkaroon ng power crisis, which happened last December, naging mas apparent na mahirap para sa isang average consumer maka-attain ng energy security within their community. So sa Siargao po, here are some key findings that we would like to share with all of you. So the average electricity cost for MSMEs is 55K or 55,000. And if you compare it po sa loss of 42,000 per day, which is an average loss of all the businesses that we were able to survey, meron na lang 13,000 more or less na revenue or kita or yung difference or disparity. So what we were able to notice here is that merong systemic vulnerabilities ang power crisis within Siargao. So allow me to share po a brief experience of what happened when we went there. So when we went there po, social media or if not retaliative or punitive yung response ng kanilang electric cooperative. So, regardless of that, medyo strong pa nga po yung kanilang pag-rate ng kanilang electric cooperative. Some have answered that they were nearly satisfied at around 7, and one answered na hindi talaga, or two answered they weren't really satisfied with a rating of 1. However, in terms of average, we had an average of 4.6 with how they rated their electric cooperative. So moving forward, we have Ms. Beng again for Cebu.
So actually, this is where we can see that in spite of the frustration, very generous pa rin talaga ang ating mga member consumer owners, where in spite of all of those lapses in the services, ang taas pa rin nilang mag-rating. Mabait pa rin po talaga sila. Mabait tayo. So here in Cebu naman, our findings are the following. So when we went into Cebu, there weren't so many challenges like what we experienced in Siargao. Now we had to transfer hotels 3 times kasi nga naghahanap kami ng hotel na may ilaw o may aircon dahil dun sa brownouts that were happening during that time. In Cebu, it was very consistent, and yun nga, at the height of sinulog pa at that time, the day before. So here we can actually see that in the average electricity cost of large businesses, they actually spend 1.17 million. So that's how much they pay in electric bills. And this is also something where, because Cebu is more progressive, their hotels are usually multiple-story buildings talaga. It's understandable that they would really be spending so much in terms of the number of rooms, the capacity that they have, and also yung kailangan nilang energy to pump water up the hotels. So, per day, ang average losses nila is umaabot naman ng 216,000 or 216K. So, compared nga kanina dun sa Siargao, not so much yung makikita natin na sa loss na halos magkalapit na sila. Malaki pa rin ang ability ng Cebu to be able to really somehow meet this particular demand. So for MSMEs naman, ang average electricity cost nila is umaabot ng 160,000 per month. And then also per day, this is where it hits those in the smaller businesses more, because it's almost half of what they actually make and of what they spend in electricity, and it's 82,000 per day. So this is per day compared to what they pay for their energy. So in Cebu, particularly for large businesses, we reported na mataas ang monthly electricity consumption nila. So because of the more technology-driven lifestyle, there's an IT sector also in Cebu. They really need more electricity, and the costs due to the operational needs. So if there's a blackout, the money to run the generators, the diesel that they need to be able to continue operations are very necessary. So ito, minimal naman ang immediate losses na nire-report nila. Long-term concerns include the need for modernization of energy infrastructure. So they've already actually projected that in the next couple of years, as Cebu continues to really grow and become even more and more urbanized, more IT-driven, they're going to need more energy, and the current energy that is being set aside for them is just not going to be enough. Cebu. So ito na naman yung maganda makita natin na they have Sebeco 1, Sebeco 2, Sebeco 3, and MECO. So there's 4 of them. Unlike in Siargao, na Siarelco lang talaga, in Samal, it's just Tardeco. Ito, they have a variety of electric cooperatives providing them with energy, and they have a distribution utility, which is BECO, and the participants really rated them on an average of a service of 6.75. So Cebu stands apart with the most stable power infrastructure. Among the 4 areas that we visited, though occasional disruptions still impact tourism businesses, sila pa rin talagang mas matibay ang kanilang energy sector, where they have a lot of the pipelines being opened by NGCP already.
Would like to highlight. One po is Kuya Virgie. He's a cook in a Japanese restaurant along the coast. And the second po, one that I'll be reserving muna to focus on Kuya Virgie's story. So, para kay Kuya Virgie po, just quoting here, na ayaw niya na daw ipamana yung estado ng kuryente sa susunod na henerasyon. Kasi sinabi niya na ilang taon na din po siya naninirahan sa Puerto Galera, 51 years, more or less. So, simula pinanganak siya, hanggang nagkatrabaho doon na rin siya sa Puerto Galera. And na-witness na po talaga yung transition ng energy infrastructure. Pero kahit na merong transition and may konting improvements, hindi pa rin niya masasabi, ito yung pinaka-ideal state ng electricity na gusto niyang makita for his grandchildren. So yung next naman po, ito yung ibig po namin sabihin kung ano yung state ng electricity. So siya po si Tatay Abdul, isa po siyang vendor ng jewelry and pearl. So siya po yung matatawag nating energy poor. Maniniwala po ba kayo na si Tatay Abdul, wala po silang kuryente ng 5 taon na? Hindi po sila nakaka-access ng kuryente kasi apparently po, may utang sila ng 15,000 pesos with interest sa kanilang energy cooperative. So nagsimula yung utang ng pandemic. And kung nagtatanong po kayo, paano kung may cellphone sila? Paano yung pagkain nila? Mapapanis kaya? So kanilang mga technique po ay kasama yung kanyang 4 na anak, 3 lalaki, 1 babae, bunso yung babae po at nag-aaral. Yung pagkain po nila, ipapastore nila sa ref ng kapitbahay. Tapos yung bunso nila, which is yung babae nga po, pupunta sa Karatig Bayan kasi nag-aaral po siya for college. Tapos doon makikicharge sa kanilang eskwelahan ng kanyang mga cellphone, gadget, etc. So, si Tatay Abdul, isa lang po siya sa na-meet namin, pero we're positive na with the energy crisis in the Philippines, maraming Tatay Abdul sa buong Pilipinas, pero hindi pa natin sila nakikilala. Kaya dito po na-highlight yung importance na acknowledging na hindi lang po sa kapasidad economically to pay ang burden ng consumer. So dalawa din po siya. Meron yung literacy nila, ano ba yung karapatan nila bilang isang energy consumer, and ano din ba yung investments or resources ng ating key decision makers and stakeholders pagdating sa enerhiya. Lugi sa isang araw ng ating mga negosyo, 30,000 pesos. Kasi karamihan po ng kanilang audience, or not really audience, pero kanilang kinikater na turista, ay usually European, Koreans, marami pong Koreans doon, East Asians po primarily, and Europeans ang kanilang kinikater na tourists. Pero, binabayaran po nila, kahit nalulugi na po sila ng 30,000 pesos, ay around 22,000 in average. So what we could see here po ay mataas po yung electricity cost. Actually po, yung kumakain kami ng lunch sa Puerto Galera, tuwang-tuwa po yung kausap naming server kasi sabi niya, medyo matagal na po since may last pumunta sa Puerto Galera para magkaroon ng FGD and pag-usapan yung mga ganitong possibilities. Although very proactive po ang kanilang local government unit, especially in terms of like sustainable development kasi may urban planner din po sila, kailangan din po kasi ma-meet halfway yon ng investors as well as business owners. So para sa kanila, very innovative yung approach. I know very rudimentary po siya or basic for us, pero sa kanila very innovative na po na may pupunta doon, magsa-survey sa kanilang mga business owners as well as sa mga tourists, and then kakausap din po sa kanilang LGU doon sa kanila na yes, may complaints sila. Pero what we've noticed here from the other 3 areas is that our participants are very proactive in terms of wanting to sit down in discussions with the electric cooperative. So very clear sa kanila, ano ba yung general meeting ng kanila electric cooperative? Bakit ba sila kailangang sumama? And yet, while acknowledging accountability ng Ormeco, they're also doing their part to broaden yung energy literacy nila. Size po here on out is that there's no one-size-fits-all solution for the energy crisis in the Philippines. Very contextual po ang ating situation in which the solution that would work for Samal might or may not work for Siargao, for Cebu, and for Puerto Galera. And at the same time, we would like to emphasize that we are not going against our electric cooperatives. However, what we would like to see is that our electric cooperatives step up and shape up to address the relevant and rising needs of our energy consumers. And that includes us as well. And nasisira din po yung kanilang mga appliances. So kung nagkakaroon ng fluctuation Actually, yung technique po ng ibang business owners, nagsa-stop operation na lang po sila. Kaya sa isugal nila na mag-operate sila in a power fluctuation season and then masira pa yung kanilang appliances, which malaki pa po yung loss nun. For the service sector, mas mababa yung foot traffic. So that means mas less yung interested to go into massage parlors, to nail salons, or even yung sa mga laundry shops po. Na surprisingly, malaki din po pala kinikita. So, tip po yun, just in case interested tayo mag-invest sa ganong business. And then for the accommodation sector, we have here compensatory measures. So, either may refund or may discounts and then rebates. So one of the things we were able to gather po from Puerto Galera sa mga nag-organize ng mga tours is very important sa kanila ang reputation. So that means how are they perceived in social media? How are they perceived in reviews? Kasi apparently most of our tourists po, they depend on Google reviews, they depend on mga advices online kung pupunta ba sila sa isang lugar or ipopostpone yung isang trip or bibisitahin pa rin po ba nila. So, very important yun sa mga tour organizers. Kaya as much as possible, kapag may complaints, ina-address na po nila kaagad. And they try as much as possible na, sabi nga po nung tour operator na nakausap namin, kahit malugi na kami, basta walang masamang post sa Facebook tungkol sa amin, okay lang.
These areas. So, for example, for Puerto Galera, some foreign tourists are very hesitant now to go there because they are aware of the energy situation. And they feel it's inconveniencing if the accommodations is not air-conditioned, etc. Another thing is that this highlights the resiliency of the Filipinos. Not always a good thing, but it shows that our business owners are also proactive in their own way by implementing cost-cutting measures, by trying to source out alternative solutions, whether that's having generator sets, or trying as much as possible to coordinate with different stakeholders. And finally, the customers' expectations have shifted. Surprisingly po, nung tinanong namin sa grassroots communities and also sa business owners, sino yung mas ma-complain na tourist? And surprisingly, ang pinaka-ma-complain daw po, hindi yung foreign tourists, mga Filipinos daw po usually. And kapag nanirahan na daw po ng matagal yung foreign tourists, ang sabi sa Puerto Galera, mas nagiging ma-complain na rin daw. So, mas feel po nila very local yung source ng complaint, and decidedly so kasi mas aware tayong mga Filipinos what the caliber of Philippine tourism is like. Moving forward po, we have the following insights. Following insights. So, reputational damage. We also have high cost to adapt to whatever impact the energy crisis has. And also, what we could say here as ilaw is that adaptation is not always the best measure. Mitigation is not always the best measure. But moving forward, we want to see an energy secure Philippines for all of us.